Thank you for joining City and State's Staten Island Power 100 webinar. I am Jeff Coltin, senior reporter at City and State, and it is my distinct disappointment to say that we are joining remotely once again. Every single year, the Staten Island Power 100 event is my favorite City and State event. I mean, it's still good virtual, but man, when we have it in person, it's like every single person involved in politics on Staten Island comes to our event. And that was always such a highlight. If we have the event in Manhattan, we got lucky if like a couple people showed up. You know, there's just too many people. Staten Island, we got the whole political community there. So I'm really hoping that we have, a good showing here virtually. And, next year in person, we'll be back at the Hilton or somewhere else. So again, thanks for joining us. And where to begin? Look, I'm a huge lover of Staten Island too. I hosted one of my birthday parties on Staten Island. We did took the ferry. We watched a Staten Island Yankees game. I'm looking forward to whatever team comes next. I don't think we've decided a name yet. When we get Jimmy Oddo speaking, I expect him to go on at length about his feelings about each individual team name option for the future Staten Island baseball team. Maybe we'll go like the Washington football team. We'll just call them the Staten Island baseball team. I want to thank very much Community Health Center of Richmond, our top sponsor for today. That's Community Health Center of Richmond Incorporated. So thank you to them. Look, we've got the chat and Q&A live for this. For those joining on Zoom, please be active in the chat. Say hello to everybody who's here. Feel free to be active, and we'll be dropping some links in there as we go on. Let's see, Zoom screen options. You can also decide to, watch just this person speaking, or you can choose to watch everybody, but we're gonna try and work this out for you. Anyway, without further ado, you didn't come to hear from me. You came to hear from our wonderful elected officials of the County of Richmond, the Borough of Staten Island. And it's my distinct pleasure to hand it over to Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, our first speaker. Nicole, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. Appreciate City and State hosting this as always. And I'm also sorry we can't be together in person. It is great to be with so many amazing people on a list for Staten Island. In particular, let me just acknowledge my colleagues who are on here. Very proud to serve with each and every one of them, even those who are of the opposite party and we don't always agree. But I think at the end of the day, we all have Staten Island's best interest at heart, and we always fight for what we truly believe in. And I want to congratulate Councilman Joe Borelli, who was elected the new minority leader. And I guess maybe that moves him up on the Power 100 rank for next year. They also want to thank council members Steve Matteo and Debbie Rose for their service. And of course, to our borough president, Jim Oddo. All three finished their terms. And we're going to miss them, and want to thank them and congratulate them for all their accomplishments and all their dedication to the people of Staten Island over the years. And of course, congratulations to all my colleagues in government, healthcare professionals, nonprofit leaders, and people who are in the private sector for making the top 100 list. I want to spend just a couple of minutes, my minutes that I get, to talk to everyone about the infrastructure bill that just passed and why I believe this is potentially a game changer for Staten Island. I think it's incredibly important that we all work together to try to move the ball forward. You know, this was an incredible funding stream for New York. Over 10% of the money, and you think about this, 50 states, over 10% of the money is going to be coming to New York. That is a huge pot that can help us do the things that we've really envisioned, not just for Staten Island, but across the city. In particular, we know that New York City is an aging city, and Staten Island, we've been deprived of transportation options that we deserve. We have issues with traffic. We have sewers that are not the capacity that they need to be at to deal with the developed island. We also have coastal resiliency projects that are still in the works, and obviously the Staten Island seawall is chief among them. And as a community that has suffered greatly after Hurricane Sandy and also from the flooding of Ida and storms like that, even just regular rainfall these days, sometimes we get massive flooding on streets. It presents a lot of opportunities for us. Nearly half of the money in this bill goes to roads, bridges, and highways. The remaining amount of that bill, 550 billion in new spending, goes to things like transit, ferry systems. And this gives us an opportunity to also add to our fast ferry network in New York City. We have to utilize our waterways more. I believe that's a big part of reducing congestion. But as I said, those coastal resiliency projects and some of the flood mitigation is incredibly important as well. Also hardening our electric grid to prevent from future power outages, expanding broadband. So it's all in there, and it's all infrastructure. I know some of my colleagues in Washington have tried to say it's 6%, 10%, 20% infrastructure. It's actually all real infrastructure, and that's why I supported it. But going forward, I just want to say I look forward with working with everybody on this call, because each and every one of you is a leader in our community, and we need buy-in, we need support, we need advocacy from everyone in this community to advocate for the projects that we want to see completed with these funds. And so I know my colleagues and I are trying to set up a meeting for next week so we can go sort of over our preliminary thoughts on where we want to put our efforts. And I look forward to just working with everyone to improve our community and really bring it into the 21st century so we can keep up with economic growth and population growth. So again, congratulations to everyone who was awarded this great honor from city and state. And I look forward to seeing you back on Staten Island real soon.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman. And look, I wish that all of you watching now could have joined us before. We had all of these Staten Island officials together on the Zoom. Everybody was talking infrastructure, talking about which projects they want to do, talking strategies. It was fascinating. It was good stuff. So it's good to see everybody working together and talking about these problems that that all Staten Islanders want to fix. Hey, another person that's working on these problems that Staten Islanders want to fix. I want to hand it over to State Senator Diane Savino. Diane, please.
Thank you, Jeff. And I want to thank City and State for not just recognizing myself and all of our colleagues here, but the people who make Staten Island what it really is. And it's a shame you could only find 100 people, because there's certainly 10 times that number of people who deserve this recognition. But this is not the first time that City and State has recognized the movers and shakers of Staten Island. So, following up on our Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, who I've served with in elected office for the past, it's 11 years now. I've been a Staten Islander 20 years as an actual homeowner living here, and I've been privileged to represent the people of Staten Island and the communities of South Brooklyn in the New York State Senate for the past 17 years. And I have served alongside some of the most amazing people, some of whom you'll hear from tonight. I think Nicole mentioned, Jimmy Oddo, who I start pretty much every morning calling to rant about whatever the issues of the day are, and we solve all the problems of the world by 8:30, and then we're back at it again the next day. Mike Cusick, who's been in office 2 years longer than I have and comes from a long family of public service here. Mike McMahon, who was a councilman, who was a congressman, the DA, but God knows that Staten Island wouldn't be what it was without the contributions of Mike McMahon and his family. We're seeing people who are leaving office. Debbie Rose, she was a groundbreaker, historic first African-American to serve from the people of Staten Island, and she's ending her term. Steve Matteo is going off. And now we see young Joe Borelli, who I can still remember his first day in the legislature. And of course, number 18 on the list, Andrew Lanza, my colleague in the Senate. And there's so many more. But the thing about Staten Island electeds, and you touched on it, Jeff, we are unique in that we come together regardless of whatever is happening, whatever the politics of the day are, and recognize that we have a higher calling, and that is to the people of Staten Island, first and foremost. We band together to fight for what is necessary for us, because in many respects, we sometimes don't get the services and the things that we need for Staten Island, because we're the smallest borough of the 5, and it's different than the other places. But we do that because we recognize that Staten Island comes first, and it always will. And a lot of that, the decisions that we make and the issues that we fight for are informed by the very people that are represented on this list. There are partners in the nonprofit world, who made us aware early on about, say, the crisis in the opioid opioid abuse problem that we were seeing. They saw it before we did. People who deal with the homeless and the hungry on Staten Island, they see it before we do. They make us better elected officials. And that's why this list is so important. Our nonprofit leaders who have to fight 3 times as hard to get $1 from the city of New York or the state of New York, because they don't have big foundations like you see in Brooklyn or you see in Manhattan or even in Queens, where I'm originally from. So you have to be tough and scrappy to be a Staten Islander. And we have some of the toughest and scrappiest people who make Staten Island a beautiful place. And while some people like to make fun of us and they like to look down their nose at us, that's okay. We don't care. We are the borough of parks. We are probably one of the most beautiful of the 5 boroughs in many ways. We are a place where people come and they're proud to raise their families and have a little patch of grass and, call it home. We fight over who has the best pizza, who makes the best meatballs. And we're just happy to be here on this side of the Verrazano Bridge. We like a little less traffic from time to time, but we are a growing, thriving, more diverse borough year after year. And every new, ethnic group that comes in and kind of sprinkles the pot here just makes it even that much more of an exciting place to live. So, I have truly enjoyed being a part of not just the neighborhood of Staten Island, but being part of probably what I think is the greatest group of elected officials that probably serve the people of this state on both sides of the aisle. And I certainly look forward to the next group of that are coming in. Camilla Hanks, my good friend, she's number 10 on the list. I think she's going to do amazing things for the people of the North Shore, and I think she's got a tremendous future in front of her. David Carr taking over for Steve Matteo, continuing the work of Jimmy Oddo. Of course, Joe Borelli, congratulations to him being elected minority leader, and he actually has 5 members. So I don't know what that says, but he's going to have a more outsized role in the future of this city. And of course, our new incoming borough president. They say everything old in Staten Island is new again. And so, congratulations to our new borough president, Vito Fasella. One thing is for sure, nobody who serves the people of Staten Island ever really stops, whether they're in office or not. And I know that we're going to continue to hear from people like Jimmy Oddo, who's going to always have an opinion about the place that he's called home his entire life. And I certainly look forward to working with everybody. And congratulations to everyone on being recognized tonight. And I know there are a lot of people that should be on this list. We just didn't have enough space. Thank you.
Prettiest borough, best meatballs. Talk about opinions.
Absolutely.
You are starting battles, citywide, statewide. I love it though. I love it. That is that's why we love Staten Island.
That's right.
So thank you very much, Senator. And yeah, thank you for the shout out. By the way, the magazine. Here we go. We got Vito on the cover. I don't know if he's gonna love the hairdo we gave him, but hopefully you can find these around the island or at least online at cityandstateny.com. So check that out. Check out the magazine. With that, hey, we're still moving forward, and I now want to hand it over to Assembly Member and the leader of the Staten Island Dems, Michael Cusick. Over to you, Assemblyman.
Thanks, Jeff. It's great to be here today, and those of you who are checking your audio, it is my voice. I'm getting over a cold, but I just wanted to thank City and State for having this great event. Although it's virtual and we all can't be together, it's still a great event to honor and to celebrate Staten Island. Many of the members on this list, the Staten Island Power 100, are friends and folks that we all know personally. And as mentioned by a number of my colleagues, in government, we do the work. We represent the people of Staten Island because that's what we chose to do. But by doing that, we are team members with many of the people, if not all the people on this Power 100 list. In many ways, we have to work with community leaders. We have to work with folks who are on the ground, who know what the needs are of the people of Staten Island. And that's what's great about this list, is that we get to recognize the hard work of all Staten Islanders. And that's what I love about Staten Island, being a lifelong Staten Islander and choosing to live here with my family, raise my daughter here. Staten Island is, and I'll echo Diane Savino, Staten Island is the greatest place in the world. And yes, it is the greatest borough in the city of New York. And it is someplace where we can all live and experience New York City, and also have a quality of life that we all experience here in this borough, with our parks, with the many entertainment sites that we have. It was mentioned by Jeff before. I believe tonight is when the new minor league team will be naming the new team. And so Empire Outlets. We have so many things here on Staten Island for our families and to experience and to bring people here to this borough. You know, I say to my friends and colleagues who join me on this list here tonight, it's a great responsibility for all of us to be considered leaders of this great borough. People will read this, people will see who's on this list, and they will look at all of you, and they will look to you to help them and to lead them, particularly now as we're moving out of this pandemic, as we are moving back into norms of society. We are working together. And that's the thing that makes Staten Island different than any place else in this state of New York, in this country, is that no matter what is out there in front of us, Staten Islanders always come together. And now we need that more than ever. We've been there together after 9/11. We were there together, working together, many of us on this list, after Sandy. We were there together working after the many storms in the last year, last couple of weeks. Everybody bands together on Staten Island, and that's what makes Staten Island great. And the people on this list are the people who are out there and are looked towards by their neighbors, their friends, their family to lead, no matter what field it is. And that's what's so great about the group that we honor here tonight. As mentioned, you know, the list can always be bigger because Staten Island has so many people who give so much to work with their community and for their community. And I just want to, again, congratulate all of you, because, you know, it's great that you're honored tonight, but we all see it. My colleagues tonight who are speaking, we see what you do every day, and it's well deserved. I also want to congratulate my colleagues who are being honored tonight, and who are, due to term limits, will not be in office after this term. My good friend, Borough President Jimmy Oddo, for his great service to Staten Island, making Staten Island what it is today, and what a great place it is to live, and a place that I am proud to call home. To my friend Steve Matteo. Steve worked so hard as our councilman. I know, again, public service is always in people's blood, and I know Steve and Jimmy are going to work for the community no matter what. And Councilwoman Debbie Rose. Debbie has served the North Shore of Staten Island admirably, and she, I know, will not disappear, because the North Shore is in her blood, and that this is what's great about Staten Island. Staten Island always remains in your heart, and no matter if you're in office or not, you're always going to serve. And I'd also like to congratulate the new minority leader of the City Council, Joe Borelli, because that is a great thing for Staten Island. And I want to thank everybody again for having us here tonight, and congratulate all of you on this great achievement. But again, we understand that this is not just one night. You are out there doing the work to make this borough the greatest borough in the city of New York. And for that, we thank you.
I had no idea they were naming the baseball team tonight. What are we doing on this Zoom? There's a party at the Kettle Black.
Yeah, at 6
It's gonna
o'clock.
be
I
Dragons.
believe.
Okay, maybe you can Zoom after. We got Zoom over after is what I mean. Dragon Slayers, Fairy Hawks, Harbor Heroes. I'm really excited to learn more about this. Look, Staten Island is about more than baseball. Except if you talk to Borough President Jimmy Oddo, you might think Staten Island is basically just about baseball. So with that, I want to hand it over to the Borough President, Jimmy Oddo, for some continued remarks.
You know, Jeff, I walked away from my computer for a second and I heard Cusick's raspy voice and I thought there was like a repeat of an old Love Boat episode with Brenda Vaccaro. I'm like, what is going on here? Get that boy a Ricola, something. My word. Good to see you, Jeff, and thank you for the great work that you do. You know, I've been a fan of yours for a long time. I appreciate and respect the job you do, and everybody at City and State. So it's good to be with you virtually. I too miss us being in person. I forget how old you are, Jeff, but I'm sure you're familiar with Casey Kasem and American Top 40. So in January 29th of 1966, Simon and Garfunkel's hit "The Sound of Silence" in a single week on American Top 40 fell from 1 to 12. In 1974, in October, the great Billy Preston with the song "Nothing from Nothing" dropped from 1 to 15 in a single week. You know the song, "Nothing from Nothing leaves nothing." In a single week, dropped 15 spots. I'm told that there's someone by the name of Taylor Swift who is a singer. What do I know? And in January of this year, she dropped her song "Willow," dropped from 1 to 38. Now you're saying, what is Otto talking about? Well, I kind of feel right now for Simon and Garfunkel and Billy Preston as I precipitously dropped. But I don't feel bad for me because I'm an old guy and I'm on the way out the door. But the criminally low ranking of my brother, Andrew Lanza, is something where I want to spend the next 25 minutes discussing. No, I kid. I'm just grateful to be on the list. I really didn't think I would be because I am 44 days from heading out the door. I want to congratulate everybody on the list and thank them for what they do for Staten Island. This is a really interesting time. You hear a lot in politics about it being the dawn of a new day. In 2013, I campaigned on "It's a New Day." But if you look at the lineup on Staten Island of political elected officials coming in 2022, it's really interesting. David Carr, number 11 on the list. Camilla Hanks, number 10 on the list of brand new elected officials. My friend Charles Fall, 7 on the list. Mike Tanusis, Assembly member, 20 on the list. Guys who are relatively new to the job, great elected officials already. Mike Riley, relatively new on the job. Joe Borelli, number 5 on the list, as we heard, just became the new minority leader in a different position. A lot of new blood, and they will be complemented by my friend Mike Cusick, number 6 on the list. Diane Savino, Andy Lanza, criminally low at 18, provide that experience and continuity. My good friend Mike McMahon at number 2. And then you have an old face who is a new face yet again, my successor, my old friend Vito Fasella at 3. And then number 1 on the list, our Congresswoman. So it's a real interesting lineup. It's different than it has been for a really long time in that there are a lot of new elected officials. You don't learn this gig in a year or two. It takes some time. And their best days, their most effective days are ahead of them. And I think that bodes well for the borough. I quickly want to run down a few other names on the list that I think It's a chance for me to say thank you and shout out. Number 8, Brahim Ardolik, who heads up SIUH, who I got to really know during the pandemic, and someone that I respect a tremendous amount. Linda Barron from the chamber, number 15, she just works so damn hard. My dear friend Freddie Cerullo at 30. Interestingly, he's at number 30, and that's how old Fred Cerullo is, 30 years old. He gets better with age, and he looks as good at age 30 as he did when he was a council member. Danny Casella, who heads up a unit, that's a whole lot of bullshit right there, and I don't care if you bleep that. He's not 30. Danny Casella is a great union leader, 45. The work we did with New York City Transit on the SIM redesign, we don't get it done if labor is not at the table as an equal partner with management. And Danny was at the table and has the respect of Craig Cipriano and Andy Byford because he's just a great Staten Islander. Carol Bullock, who leads the Pride Center, one of my favorite people on Staten Island. You're not going to find a better human being than Carol Bullock. I want to shout out Frank Nasso, who heads up the Building Industry Association. Next to my wife, the builders will be the happiest people on Staten Island, and I'm walking out the door. And I'm not a big fan of them, and they're not a big fan of me. Look at Staten Island, not all of them. Look at Staten Island, look what they did to Staten Island, and we need to stay frosty about what they think they're going to do again. But Frank Nasso is a gentleman, and I appreciate that he's on the list. Katia Gordon from Con Ed does a fabulous job. People like to dump on Con Ed. Katia is great. 2 last ones. It is quintessential New York that a kid with 17 years of Catholic education points to a rabbi as his spiritual guide. Rabbi Yaakov Lehrfield, who heads up the Young Israel on Staten Island, is just solid people, and will kick your ass. Will kick your ass in arm wrestling, and that's no joke. And lastly, 2 amazing people, the DeVitos, just at 96, just really, just wonderful people who contribute to Staten Island in such a great way. In closing, deep breath. Even though I have the triceps of a 22-year-old, I'm a 55-year-old man who often sees himself still as a kid from Old Town Road. The fact that I could get a job in government and politics, could serve this borough for 22 years, son of a motorman, a guy who drove trains around, first generation, first person in my family to go to college, to have this privilege to serve this community, an absolute blessing. I will say to Staten Island, stay frosty. You know it's a struggle. Everything good that we have in this borough, we had to fight tooth and nail. I think we're going to have more help in the Adams administration and Mayor Adams. I think the agencies will be more of a help. But the people of Staten Island, all the people on this list, you guys stay frosty, man, because there are lots of really important fights. And lastly, I close with a quote. I love this quote. I love it more every day. I'm going to love it in 44 days more than I love it today. George Washington says to John Adams at his swearing in, "I am fairly out and you are fairly in. See which of us will be happiest." Peace, Staten Island.
This man is so gracious, so thankful to the others. I thought you were going to use this time to settle scores, to kick people on the way out the door. I gotta say, it was nice, but maybe next time you can really keep it mean instead of being so kind and gracious. So
Jeff, much like Jamie Foxx, I can play any role, and I get typecast as the angry young man. Staten Island Advance loved it for years, sold a lot of papers with it. But at 55, you throw the changeup a little more than the fastball at times. So they're good people on this list. You guys did a really good job, and I have a lot of respect and affinity for a bunch of them. Diane Savino wasn't kidding when she said I have a daily 8 a.m. briefing with her, and it's a beautiful thing to see a Democrat and a Republican speak and argue and debate, but for the good of the community, and call each other up the next day. And it's been a privilege.
Well said. Well said. Thank you, Mr. Borough President. And I don't know if I really even gave a thanks to, congratulations to everybody on the list as well. So we're going to be naming everybody later on in this. We're going to be naming all 100 and, waving our hands and doing all that. But we do have another speaker. That is the esteemed district attorney. He's been in many roles on Staten Island. Right now, he's the district attorney. I want to hand it over to Mike McMahon.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff, and good evening, everyone. And I think I have the unenviable position of following Jimmy Oddo, and that's certainly not easy, but I can paraphrase Ron Burgundy and Jimmy Oddo at the same time by saying, stay frosty, Jimmy Oddo, stay frosty. I'm honored to be here, and I know that Jimmy sort of walked us through the Grauman's Chinese Theater Sidewalk of Stars, who were listed, many are listed on your list of 100 Staten Islanders, and certainly my colleagues in government who spoke before me. And I won't list everyone as I should just out of time, but I am honored to be on a list with them. I am honored to be on a list with other Staten Islanders who are on that list. And I think we've all acknowledged that although there may be 100 people on that list, there are thousands of Staten Islanders who deserve to be on that list because they give of themselves every day to make Staten Island a better and stronger community, to make the city of New York from living in Staten Island and the impact that they have across the city of New York and across the region. And so I'm really honored to be on that list. My colleagues have sort of tried to describe Staten Island for the listeners who are not from here. And it could be about pizza, meatballs. Food is always very important to us. It could be our position as sort of the forgotten borough and always having to fight for what we have. But to put it simply, we are the heart of New York City, but we are also the heartland of New York City. And that is what we deal with in the district attorney's office every day, the issues that we confront. And I'm thrilled to be on this list, but I'm only on this list because of the people who work so hard every day in the district attorney's office to keep their fellow Staten Islanders safe and to keep the community stronger. And I want everyone to know that there are 200 folks who work in this office every day, from our chief assistant, Tim Kohler, and all the executives, our chief of staff, Ashley Owens, who keeps things running and keeps us focused on the broader issues that we deal with here on Staten Island, and everyone that they work with, from the assistant district attorneys to the investigators, the analysts, the paralegals, the victim advocates, the IT people, the infrastructure people, the human resource people who keep this office going so that we can have such an impact on our borough in our region. And that's why I'm on that list. And so I thank all of them for the work that they do. We saw today a report that in the last year, 100,000 Americans, more than 100,000 Americans died from an opioid or an overdose, mostly opioid and mostly driven by fentanyl. We work with so many partners in this borough, from our hospitals to the PPS with Joe Conti, from our providers, Community Health Action and Camelot and Samaritan Daytop Village and the YMCA and the smaller groups to work to deal with that issue. And all of them are unsung heroes in this fight and certainly belong on this list. And obviously the work that we have to do continues. And I'm proud of the people in this office who focus on that. We saw in the last year and a half through COVID, not only the crisis of COVID itself, but also an uptick in violence, street crime, gun violence. And to the detectives and police officers in New York City, particularly on Staten Island, they all deserve to be on your list. As do all the emergency service workers, all the healthcare workers who work with us to keep us going through COVID. They all deserve to be on that list as well. We are seeing the benefits of their work. We are seeing that the crime rates are coming down. We are seeing that things are stabilizing again. And Staten Island is once again the safest community of its size of anywhere in the United States of America. And that's something that we're extremely proud of. And those are the people who brought that result for us, are the people who also deserve so richly to be on your list. We've expanded our footprint in the community. We are so familiar with community and religious leaders who deserve to be on your list. I think of Bishop O'Hara and Bishop Victor Brown, the work that we do with them in addition to the people that you've listed. And we know that they deserve to be there too. And I know there's only 100, but I think for Staten Island, the obvious thing is that all the other boroughs, they only need to have 100 people on that list. In Staten Island, we have so many unsung heroes. Maybe we need to expand it to 200 to really do it justice. Let me just conclude by saying that we are honored to be in a position to serve the people of Staten Island and the city of New York and our region, and we thank you for that honor. We wish you all safe and healthy returning to normal as we get past COVID and we get past the crises that we face. Please know that the dedicated folks in my office will continue to do the work on your behalf. They were okay with me being #2 this year, but they're going to work hard to make it #1 because that's what they do. #1 DA's office in the state of New York. That's our goal. Best way to serve the people of Staten Island. And lastly, let me wish you all a very healthy and happy Thanksgiving to you and your families. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the speech. Thank you for also, gosh, Thanksgiving is coming up soon, huh? I hope everybody travels safe and all that. Look, you mentioned you were #2. Good preview, because right now, with no further ado, is our, I have to read 100 names, all the Staten Islanders, everyone we've been praising and congratulating and thanking over this time. So, hey, you can follow along on cityandstateny.com if you want. But basically, #1, Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, thank you for joining us earlier. #2, Mike McMahon, District Attorney. Vito Fossella, the incoming Borough President, Borough BP-elect. #3, State Senator Diane Savino, thank you for joining us. Joe Borelli, we have him listed as Minority Whip. That's changed now, the New York City Council Minority Leader. Mike Cusick, Assembly Member and Democratic Leader, thank you for joining us. Charles Fall, Assembly Member, #7 on the power list. Sadly, Charles Fall could not join us today, had to drop off for a family emergency, so hope all's well, Charles. Brahim Ardalik of the Staten Island University Hospital. Daniel Messina of Richmond County Medical Center. Camilla Hanks, City Council nominee. David Carr, City Council nominee. Gwynn Carr, the activist. Jimmy Oddo, Borough President, still got you up there in the top 20. Thank you for joining, of course. Debbie Rose, the outgoing City Council member from the North Shore. Linda Barron of the Staten Island Chamber of Commerce. Brian Laline and Caroline Diamond of the Staten Island Advance, or Advance, it's a debate. Speaking of which, I do want to say I'm not going to pronounce everybody's name correctly, so I'm going to do my best, and I apologize profusely if I do mess it up. I think I do know this one, though. Richard and Lois Nicotra of the Nicotra Group on the list. Andy Lanza, State Senator, criminally underrated, according to Jimmy Oddo. Following him, rounding out the top 20, Assemblymember Mike Riley and Assemblymember Mike Tanusis. Got a little bit of Brooklyn in there in his district as well. After that, we got Alina Lermont, chair of the City Planning Commission on Staten Island. We got Steve Matteo, outgoing minority leader for the City Council. Cesar Claro, president of the SIEDC. Kate Rooney of the Staten Island Foundation. Vito Pitta, Vincent Pitta, and John Del Giorno of Pitta Bishop Del Giorno, Pitta LLP. They're all over the political and the campaign game and the lobbying game. Anthony Reinhardt, chair of the Staten Island Republican Party. That's a new name in there. Pay attention to him. Max Rose, past congressman, maybe future House candidate. We will see. Desmond Green, Richmond County Administrator of the Courts. Matthew Titone, surrogate judge of Surrogates Court, beautiful building there. Al Cerullo, president and CEO of Grand Central Partnership, but we all know that he's really a Staten Islander at heart and of residence. Terry Troya, president and CEO of Project Hospitality. Vinny Ignizio, CEO of Catholic Charities of Staten Island, and of course, a former elected official. Mark Loria, board chair of Snug Harbor, beautiful place. Laura Jean Waters, executive director of the Staten Island Foundation. Paul DiGiacomo, Detectives Endowment Association, DEA. Henry Thompson, CEO of Community Health Center of Richmond. Luke Nasta, CEO of Camelot. Diane Arneth, executive director of Community Health Action of Staten Island. Michael Gervasi, president of the Richmond County Bar Association. Stephen Fiala, county clerk for Richmond County. Frank Vega and Rafet Awad, the community affairs with the NYPD. Edward Josie, president of the Staten Island NAACP. William J. Fritz, president of CSI, College of Staten Island. Angelo Araimo, interim president of Wagner College. Daniel Casella, president of ATU Local 726. Yesenia Mata of La Colmena. They've been very active recently, been seeing a lot from La Colmena. Tony Baker, pastor at St. Philip's Baptist Church. Adrian Abadi, executive director of the Staten Island Partnership for Community Wellness. Brandon Lantry, judge-elect, formerly of the Republican Party. Now he's out there, can't be being too political. Ken Mitchell, executive director of the Staten Island Zoo. Varen Sagnon, VP of real estate at CHCR. And you know what? We're about exactly halfway through the list, 50 names down. I see that Assemblyman Charles Fall has joined us. So I think I'm going to take this moment to take a break from reading all the names. We're going to come right back to them and hand it over to Assemblyman Charles Fall, if you'd like to give us some brief remarks.
Thank you so much, Jeff, for having me on. Just thank you to City and State for the recognition. I do want to give a shout out to all of the folks that were, of course, on the list, but also another special shout out to folks that may have not made the list that are doing great work in our community here on Staten Island. I think going into 2022 is going to be a year full of a lot of things we got to accomplish, with some of the federal funding that we saw for the federal government. I think it's more realistic that, we may see some good news related to the bus rapid transit on the North Shore. I think also making sure that our schools have the resources that they need, especially for our kids during this time who just, went through about a year and a half of learning virtually and making sure that they are in a better place, because if we do not take care of our kids, we are going to have some trouble in the future. I think those are the really two main points going into next year. And of course, we cannot forget the support that our small businesses need. They struggled during this time. Yes, there was some aid, but more needs to be done. So thank you again, Jeff, City and State, for this recognition, for having me, and look forward to doing amazing things going into 2022. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Assemblyman. Thank you for joining us. Really do appreciate that. And thank you for giving me a break from reading 100 names. But I've got to go back to it. And you know what? This is the more important half. This is the second half. Everybody knows that top 50 of the Staten Island Power 100, but now it is the bottom 50. It's the names that you might not know that still deserve recognition. So I'll pick it up with that. We've got Carol Bullock, director of the Staten Island Pride Center, who got a shout out from Jimmy Oddo earlier. Bishop Edmund Whalen. We got the deputy borough presidents, Edmund Burke, and Deputy Borough President Edward Burke, and Chief of Staff to the Borough President, Jason Rozewski. Good people, good people. Victoria Manna of the New York One's Staten Island reporter, and everybody knows New York One covers Staten Island better than anybody else. Lou Tobacco, President and CEO of Monsignor Farrell, and of course, former elected. David Curcio, Chairman of the Conservative Party. Chris Smalls, lead organizer of the Amazon Labor Union and former City and State cover model. So great job, Chris Smalls. Stephen Klein, president of Northfield Bank Corp. Rafael DiMaggio, VP of TD Bank. Ralph Branca and Phil Guarini, president and CEO of Empire State Bank. Gail Castellano, regional manager at the Richmond County Savings Bank. Frank Morano, chairman and radio host chairman of the Staten Island Reform Party, radio host at AM 970. I believe he's also the one hosting the baseball event as we speak. So I'm sure otherwise he'd be tuned in. Jennifer Gray Brumskine, a Liberian community activist. Bob Scarmadella, managing partner of Scarmadella, Gervasi, and Casagrande. Peter Junta, chief of staff for Michael Riley, definitely somebody who's active in local politics there as well. I know that name very well. Alan Capelli, SI commissioner for the Staten Island, for the New York City Planning Commission. Joseph Ferrara and Winthrop Wharton of BFC Partners. Jim Easley of the Staten Island Mall. Samir Farag, president of Worldwide Electric Corp. Orit Lender, CEO of what do we got? The JCC of Staten Island. Excuse me, Orit Lender of the JCC of Staten Island. Vincent Calamia, board member of NYC Health and Hospitals. James Prendamano, managing director for Prendamano Real Estate, formerly Cassandra Properties. Cesar Vargas, a activist, former BP candidate. Frank Nasso, chairman of the Building Industry Association of New York City. Roxanne Mustafa, founder of Staten Island Women Who March. Candace Gonzalez of NYCID. John Amodio of SCORE Staten Island. Edwina Martin, the public administrator, I know her well. Janet Dugo, project manager for downtown Staten Island Commercial District. Janet Dugo. Frank Siller, chairman of CEO of the Stephen Siller Tunnels to Tower Foundation, always do a great job with the runs there. Katya Gordon, Staten Island director for Con Ed. Kevin Elkins, political director for the Carpenters. You may know him from being in Democratic politics on Staten Island. Congrats to Kevin. Demetrius Carolina, the executive director of the Central Family Life Center. Bianca Rajprasad of Davidoff, Hutcher and Citrone. Sebastian Angelico, founder and chairman of the Emergency Children's Help Organization, excuse me. Michelle Akipong, vice president of SSEU Local 371. Mendy Marachnik, president of the Council of Jewish Organizations, CJO of Staten Island. Rabbi Yaakov Lehrfield of Young Israel of Staten Island. And Brittany Ramos-Tabarros, Democratic congressional candidate running right now. Julian Verdi, chair and founder of Move Forward Staten Island. Tahir Kukiki, imam of the Albanian Islam Cultural Center. Mohammed Khalid, president of the Iron Hills Civic Association. Maria Capio, vice president of early childhood programs at the Children Aid Society. Robert Perkins, a district leader and a member of the First Central Baptist Church. Michael and Natalie DeVito of the Staten Island COVID-19 Resource Network. Sharmila Rao Thakar of SRT Advising and Consulting. Teresa Tanjan of the New York Immigration Coalition. Mohammed Kareem Chowdhury of Alliance of South Asian American Labor. And I think I've got it. Last but not least, Mike Ryan, executive director of the New York City Board of Elections, who has had a very busy year in 2021. Thoughts are with Mike Ryan. Look, that is our Staten Island Power 100. Thank you for your patience. And look, thank you for your interest and care. I mean, look, these are all people in our community that I do want to congratulate and thank for being so involved in politics and government here. I want to also thank Community Health Center of Richmond Incorporated for being a top sponsor today. And look, I want to invite you to some future city and state events. Tomorrow, we are having at 1 p.m. our annual virtual government procurement conference. So if you're in that world, if you're looking to get contracts, join in. You can find the link on the website, cityandstateny.com, and in the chat at Zoom. On Tuesday, December 7th, we've got a virtual transportation summit. These issues, I promise we're not just going to be talking about the subways. We'll be talking about stuff that affects Staten Island as well. Always very interesting event. So the transportation summit, Tuesday, December 7th. And in person on Wednesday, December 15th, we are going to be honoring our 100 most responsible, the responsible 100 at a reception at Sony Hall near Times Square. Sponsorships and tables are still available. So if you know somebody in corporate social responsibility in that world, highly recommend you check that out and try to attend the event. So with that, I want to thank you all so much again for joining the 2021 Staten Island Power 100. I'm Jeff Coltin from City and State. It's been my pleasure. And next year, we're doing this in person at the Garden Inn. Hope to see you there.